Hi all, just wanted to go over some info from last week as well as for week 5 to come. So last week we went over internal environmental analysis, competitive advantage, and these are really important. You might think about in marketing, oh, we're always looking at our competitors. What are they doing? We're looking at what's going to impact us from a regulatory perspective or from our other stakeholders. But digging within and looking within your organization is probably equally, if not more important, to understand what makes you better than your competitors or what perhaps not does not make you better than your competitors. Where are your strengths and weaknesses internally, and where can you make improvements, or what do you really need to kind of take advantage of that you're doing really well? So really important to look at those aspects. So we looked at strengths and weaknesses, a little notion here about the characteristics of strengths and weaknesses, value, rareness, imitability, and sustainability, and why is that important. And then we had our quiz and our ed puzzle. So let's flip over to week 5. So this week we're going to look at directional strategies. So your directional strategies, or your directional statements, are those mission, vision, values, and goals that you have for your organization, and they are equally a important part. That doesn't make much sense. A huge part, or a very important part of your overall internal analysis. And a lot of times when you're really doing a overall strategy, or really kind of creating a new strategic plan, or focusing on maybe a brand new marketing campaign or a rebranding of your organization, all of these things come to play, and it all comes back to your organization and your culture, and it's hopefully your culture that makes people want to come there and receive treatment. So looking at your mission, vision, values, and what your goals are very important overall. So we have a discussion this week about leadership and vision, and how leaders play into the vision aspect. So definitely take some time to look at the vision of an organization versus its mission, and think about that when you're doing your discussion this week. We also have a written assignment for a mission statement. And so if you work at an organization that's not a healthcare organization and you want to dig into their mission statement, that's fine. It's always good when you know the organization well. So if you work someplace where that's your current work, think about that, because mission statement creation and adaptation is the same across all businesses. These aren't things that are special to us in healthcare. So think about that. Or if you'd rather take a look at, maybe you are a patient at Presby or at St. Clair, and you want to dig into their mission statement and reflect upon that based on your experiences there. So I think I always really like reading this particular assignment, week 5 assignment, because it really gives me an idea of, okay, what are people thinking of? What do they expect in their organizations, and do they feel that the mission reflects that? And we can see some really great mission statements, and we can see some really terrible mission statements. So it's interesting to look at those types of things. Like, for example, the mission statement, we had to create mission statements for our accreditation. So we have a mission statement for both our undergraduate and our graduate programs in HSA at RMU. And from the all of the things that you'll read this week, or all of the theory about creating mission statements, ours breaks every rule. And the reason that we did that is we kind of created one based on what we would want to create. And then the accreditors said, nope, you've got to include this, you've got to include this, you've got to include this. So sometimes external influences actually impact your internal mission statement, which is really interesting if you think about the connectedness of all of these things together. So think about that too when you're looking at a mission statement. If you see terminology in it, do you think, did that come from somewhere else that is requiring them to have that in there? Like, for example, if they are a faith-based organization under like a higher level church organization. For example, down here, Advent Health is probably the largest health system here in the greater Orlando area, and they are part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So if you look at Advent Health's mission statement, outside of likely reflecting the mission of their organization, there's probably some mention specifically of the Seventh-day Adventist Church or their teachings. So think about that when you're doing that assignment and how external things may be impacting the mission statement from an internal perspective. Then we have our quiz and our ed puzzle, which is this right here. So let's go over to our quiz questions from last week, from our week 4 quiz. First question, any organization that develops a better product, delivers a better service, or establishes a substantial cost advantage will have competitive advantage. And so the answer to that is false. A competitive advantage is more broad. So, so there's those 4 items that were noted in our assignment. Actually, let's hop back over here for a second. These 4 items that were noted, oh, it was last week's assignment, sorry, that were noted in our assignment last week, value, rareness, imitability, and sustainability, are really key to competitive advantage. So when we come back over here, we think about the things that are valuable to folks external to our organization, things that are rare, difficult to duplicate, and that are things that we can sustain. It's not something that we can only do once and it'll never happen again. All of those things, value, rareness, imitability, and sustainability, all need to come together to create a competitive advantage. It's not just one thing. So you think about a company, and I think we've talked about this in this class in the past, but like Walmart. You think about a company like Walmart, they're not necessarily having better products or better service, but they certainly are providing a substantial cost advantage. And for some things, I will go to Walmart because it's cheaper to buy health and beauty products or medications, those types of over-the-counter medications. I can get a bottle of, or a 2-pack of 500 Advil for like $7.99 there. I go to the Walgreens, which is half a mile from my house, and I will pay $7.99 for a pack of 24 of them. So going to Walmart provides me a cost advantage. It doesn't mean they have a competitive advantage overall against their the other folks that are their competitors in their field, like Target or those types of organizations. I would generally rather go to Target because they have better service and better products. But sometimes that cost advantage will get me to come in the door. So it really needs to be a combination. For someone to truly have a competitive advantage in the environment overall, it needs to be a nice combination of all of these things that come together to create that advantage. Next question. In the resource-based view of strategy, valuable, expensive, difficult to copy resources contribute to sustainable competitive advantage. And yes, that is true. Just like we were talking about, if it's something that's of high value, that is can be expensive, but also is difficult to copy. So, for example, a Tesla we'll use, for example. If you want that type of a car, kind of a sporty looking, but a fully electric vehicle that is, has a kind of a nicer look. I don't want to say nicer, a different look than some of the other electric or hybrid cars in the environment, which tend to be very small and somewhat boxy. I always call those cars like, and I drive a Mini Cooper, so I'm not no one to judge for a small car, but I always call them a pregnant roller skate. It's kind of what they look like. And my car looks very similar, but a lot of the fully electric vehicles look like that. They're not for fashion by any means, whereas a Tesla has a much different look. They're very expensive, they're quite valuable, but they're also difficult to copy. Not everyone is out there building these. Now, obviously the other competitors in the space are getting better at it, and they're starting to build more sexier cars that people are interested in, that are also fully electric, and then where can you charge it and all of that comes up, but it is something that is difficult to copy, and that's how they can charge that premium for it because that gives them that competitive advantage. As they start to lose those pieces, like for example, if it becomes less difficult to copy and that it starts to lose value to the customer, then Tesla will start to lose its competitive advantage. And in that case, then he'll just go on to to make more spaceships or more flamethrowers or whatever else Elon Musk has up his sleeve. But it's always, he realizes that his competitive advantage is not lifelong. It will constantly be moving and changing. So he needs to create new difficult to copy resources for his products. Next one, organization's value chain is actually, it should be are. No, it is. It's a poorly worded sentence. I apologize for that. So the value chain of an organization are the various ways, or I guess is the appropriate term there, ways that it creates value for present and prospective customers. So the value chain is all about all of the different aspects, kind of from birth to death of a client interaction or a customer interaction. So actually in your textbook, starting on page 127, then going through 129, it lays out all the components of the value chain. On page 126, exhibit 4-2, is kind of a pictorial version of that as well. So it really shows how you can provide value to, we're always looking to provide value to the customer. That's the key. So this kind of shows all of those different areas where we can provide value: pre-service, point of service, after service, and then the activities from within the organization, like the culture, the structure, and all of those overhead or strategic resources that if you have excellence in all of these areas, they can all add value. But that value chain really drives that value add for the customer. And as you think about the marketing aspects, and we're talking a lot about strategy, but as you think about the marketing aspects, marketing is always about value. What makes you more valuable than your competitors? You're always looking to drive that value statement home to your customers in marketing and show them value add. So where does the value add come for your product? Why is your imaging service that much better than others? Why should a pregnant mom come to your facility to use your women's and children's services? And that's why a lot of times in healthcare advertising, we see stories. We see the story of the mom that came and ended up having a problem with the baby, but the NICU was right there and she received excellent care and her child received excellent care. Or we see the story of the cancer survivor who got to ring the bell after her chemo was done. Or all of these types of things, they tell them in a story format to show that it provided that customer value. That's not the only way to do it, but it's clearly a very popular way to do it that we see quite often in the healthcare world. Okay, so that's all I have for this week. Let's hop back over to week 5. So I look forward to your discussions and your written assignments for this week. I'll get plugging along on the other assignments here within the next couple days, and you'll see them coming back. But don't forget to be putting a little bit of time into your final project. That can be time consuming. But if you have questions, want to meet up in the classroom, if you want to talk on the phone, we can obviously converse over email as well or text, please just let me know. I'm happy to help out with those final projects as you get rolling forward on them. And that's all I've got. So I will see everyone in the classroom this week. Thanks.